Okay. Oh, shit. We are live.
We are live.
Oh, man. I hate this where this happens. We're live. We're playing around.
Well, are you ready for this film, Robert?
I am ready for this film. This is a very special film to us. This is our anniversary show.
Yes.
Once again, it's very hot in here.
Romantic Friday.
And I've been working. Romantic Friday. It's Romantic Friday. And we have a particularly romantic Friday today.
We do.
Our favorite romantic couple sent us a romantic bottle of wine.
Yes.
Which
yes,
is very
they
exciting.
Did. So much romance in the air
So
tonight.
much romance in the air. Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, and your sommelier of cinema, Robert Meyer Burnett. And I am here with my trusty compatriot and companion. Uh-oh. And who are you?
I am Elizabeth Gwendolyn Bell. I am the ace, the arbiter of cinematic excellence,
The arbiter?
and the
Sorry.
enchantress of entertainment. You're very distracted.
I'm very distracted because when it gets hot like this in the room, for whatever, the iTunes music just starts playing. It keeps playing like this. And it keeps playing Adele's Skyfall, which
Well,
could be
that's
considered romantic, I
That's a good
suppose.
song.
Yes, because it is very hot in here. And hopefully I'll get the... So anyway, this is Elizabeth's Whining About Movies, episode number 48.
48.
48.
Wow, that's how old I'm turning.
Well, shh, you're not supposed to say that.
I mean,
It's another anniversary of your 35th
20,
birthday.
I mean 28.
28. You look 28.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, kind, gentle beings from across the 28 known galaxies, this is a very special night for us because it is July 3rd, but yesterday, July 2nd, was in fact our 5-year anniversary, the 5th anniversary of our first date.
Indeed, 5 years ago.
5 years ago, we went to a Jeff Gund party, and Jeff Gund does parties and
The pre-Comic-Con.
pre-Comic-Con party, the info list. He runs the info list, all different kinds of things. If you're on Jeff Gunn's list, his info list, you get to go to these kinds of parties. And I was like, I'm taking you to I don't know if you'd call it swanky, but it was at the Sofitel Hotel, and I knew you were
Yes.
half French, so hey, let's go to a French hotel in LA to a pre-Comic-Con party. And I didn't know if you were a geek or not. I didn't know if you were like geek friendly. I mean, I guess you kind of were. By that time, I knew.
Well, I mean, I talked about a lot of movies and shows that I watch in my
True.
profile. So, I mean, you know.
That is true, and one movie in particular is what caught my attention. That and your face.
My face.
I'm a face guy, and our 96% match on OkCupid.
Yes,
96%. That's pretty high.
that is pretty high.
Between that, your face, and the fact that you love a movie that I love, a movie that well, first of all, let's drink some wine. Let's drink some wine first. This is a great bottle of wine, a French bottle of wine, Louis Jadot.
Yes.
This, my friends, is a fantastic Pinot Noir from Louis Jadot. This is from the adoptive couple, the Burnettworks. We have an adoptive comic book store, which is Jacob Fudge's Comic Relief. And then we have an adoptive couple, our favorite parents, Claude and Candida, and their son Spencer, who, by the way, you'll see him tomorrow, playing a video. But they sent us this bottle of wine. Oh, let me pour some for you.
Why, thank you.
And they know we love our Pinot Noir.
Yes.
And this is a French Louis Jadot Pinot Noir, so
very
that's
exciting.
fantastic.
Thank you for sending this.
So this is to Jean-Pierre Jeunet, co-director of City of Lost Children and Delicatessen, and the director of Alien 4 Resurrection. This film, I think, is his masterpiece. He also directed a very long engagement after this.
Love that film.
It's a great film, too. This film, Amélie, is in my top 10 of all time. Top 10. I'm just going to flat out say it.
Well, this is my number one favorite film.
Number one favorite
Of all
film. All right.
time.
Well, first of all, let's try this wine. It smells delightful. That is just a
Wow.
delightful Amélie-esque bottle of wine. Wow.
That is fantastic.
Here's to Claude and Candida. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
And we've got the almonds and the...
We get the
Gruyere.
Gruyere and the almonds and the olives.
So, I was in Sitges, Spain when I saw this movie. And it was in 2001. And I had gone to the Sitges Film Festival.
Yes.
Just for fun, just to hang out. Steve Melching was there. My friend Todd Stanley came. We were just hanging out. We just went to see movies. It's my favorite film festival in the world. The Sitges Festival is... Sitges is a small town on the Mediterranean, about 20 kilometers south of Barcelona.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if people can hear that.
Oh.
I think they can. I think...
Oh, the music came
Yeah, I
on
think
again.
they can hear it. They can hear it.
Oh my god.
I know, it's crazy. It's weird because it's hot. My
Why
computer...
don't you just turn your
Because it'll...
iTunes off?
It will come back on again. Watch. You'll see. So I went and saw this film, and what was interesting, I didn't know much about it. I knew Jean-Pierre Jeunet directed it. And there were posters everywhere for this film. And you know that poster of just Audrey Tauto's face.
Yes.
Looking all cute.
Oh, yeah.
It was on the trains. It was all over Barcelona.
Well, 5 years ago, I took my kids to France, and Zoe and I went to the Café des Trois Moulins. And, of course, now they have this giant poster.
The two windmills.
Yes. And there's...
Montmartre.
In Montmartre. And
Did you
there's-
just speak French?
Yes, well, I mean, come on, this is... I'm
Just
going to
saying.
make an exception for tonight.
All
I
right.
will be saying a few things in French before 30,000 subs, so you're welcome.
Can you say the actual real title of this movie in French?
Yes.
Why don't you do that?
Le fabuleux destin de Amélie Poulain. It's a long title.
It is a long title. The Fabulous Destiny of Amélie Poulain.
Yes. So anyway, back to my story.
Sorry.
I took Zoe to the Café des Trois Moulins, and we had lunch there. And I just posted on WINEning Facebook page the picture of me in the cafe doing the same pose with Amélie poster in the background.
Well, so I saw this film. I went. It was a double feature. Where I remember it, Kyushu Kurosawa's Pulse, which was a terrific existential ghost story, apocalypse story. It's one of my favorite Japanese horror films. Maybe my favorite of the wave of J-horror from the early aughts. And this. And it was at the I want to say I don't know if it was downtown or if it was at the hotel, the Grand Meyer, where they have the 1,500 seat theater. I don't remember. I think it was downtown. I want to say it was downtown, but maybe it was at the Grand. And I have to say, I knew nothing about this movie, and this movie hit me. It from the opening of the film, the way it was done, the way it looked, it combined both. It had voiceover, it had magical realism, it had whimsy, it had all of these things. I had no idea what this movie was even about. I knew nothing about it. And from the very beginning of this film, I was completely captivated by it. I was.
Yeah.
It's one of the first movies that was done with a digital intermediate, which means there was a lot of color manipulation that happened in the computer afterwards. And when we saw Jean-Pierre Jeunet speak, he actually said he thinks he went a little too far with the digital manipulation of the film. And I cried twice.
Oh, yes.
I cried twice in this movie.
Yes, me too. I have a confession.
Uh-oh.
The first time I saw this film, I did not see it in the theater. I was a new mom. Zoe was a baby. So whenever it came out on DVD is the first time I saw it. And because I was a new mom, I fell asleep. the very first time I saw this film, I fell asleep.
Oh my God.
I know. That's a horrible confession. But the second time I watched this film, I completely fell in love with it. And then I have been watching it obsessively ever since.
I mean, I come home sometimes, you're just watching this movie.
Yep.
In French.
In French. I don't even need the subtitles.
You don't need, I know you don't need subtitles.
Yeah. And then the first time I saw it in the theater was when we went.
Oh my God. So last year, Jean-Pierre Jeunet came to LA and spoke at the American Cinematheque. And we saw this in the Egyptian Theater. It was a packed house.
Packed.
And we had to get a poster signed for us.
Yeah, so we hunted down this poster.
So I went to the greatest poster dealer, the greatest movie poster dealer in the world. Her name is Debbie, and she has her gallery La Magerie. And I've spent more in my life. I've spent more money with her than anywhere else in the world. And my big poster collection, which I actually sold, is at the third floor, which is a company called the Third Floor. It's a previous company. They have my incredible big poster collection. But I knew that she would have a poster. We needed to get an original French poster, which was oversized, and we took it with us to get signed.
We
and
did.
Tell everyone.
So he of course had this interview, and it was fantastic after the film. And then once the interview was over, everyone just rushed to the front to get their DVD covers
and
signed.
I normally would have gone myself, but I figured as a Frenchman, and you speak French, I'm like, you would be able to go navigate the crowd and probably get up there. It was tough.
The thing is, like, he came over on the opposite side of where we were, so I had to by the time I got there was a huge crowd around him, but luckily I'm pretty tall and I wiggled my way to the front.
You did.
With my poster in hand. Everyone else just had their little DVD covers.
You have to understand, this poster is like 55 inches across. It's a huge...
And we had refolded it so that he would sign exactly where I needed him to sign it.
And so, did you in fact speak French to him?
I did. I went all the way to the front and I said... Should I say it?
Yeah, you should say it. Come on, this is telling a story.
So I asked him in French to sign my poster to Babette. Babette is my French nickname. It's the name I grew up, everyone calls me Babette. It's a French nickname for Elizabeth. So I spoke French to him and asked him to do this, and he was like, oh, à Babette, oui. and he signed it to me, to Babette. Yeah.
So we have to get it framed. We haven't got it framed yet.
We have to get it framed.
We have to get it framed.
I would love to hang it in the bedroom.
Yeah, we'll hang it in the bedroom. But it's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome. So Elizabeth, what is this movie about?
Well, this movie...
I mean, we don't have to go through the entire... But the overview.
This is a fantastical movie that has its own...
Magical realism, I'd call it.
Yes, it's got its own magical universe.
Because the universe is in the head of the character Amélie.
Yeah.
Amélie Poulain.
And I very much relate to Amélie because she's very imaginative and lives in this imaginary world or you know, her creative thoughts that she constantly has.
I have never seen a movie where I identified with the main character, even though she's a woman. I identified with her from the very beginning.
Yes.
I mean, and that's the thing. I didn't expect to, and it happened on a very primal level. Like, it was one of these times where I felt like he was making a movie for me, like, and maybe me alone.
No, he made it for me.
Oh, okay.
He made it for me.
But like with you, I mean, I was blown away by this, and from the very beginning.
From the very beginning.
I mean, there's a narrator talking.
Yes.
And I knew that when they showed, like, you actually see Amélie gestating inside of her mother.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a series of
It
single
begins
shots.
with the narrator telling these quirky facts. It's very, very whimsical. And he goes through all these interesting facts about what's happening at this very moment in Paris. And then it goes to Amélie being conceived. And you actually see the sperm, fertilizing the egg.
Yeah.
And then you watch the Amélie's mother's belly grow.
And the way it's done.
And the music.
Oh, Jan Tiersen's soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time.
Yes.
The music is amazing. I mean, everything about this film, for whatever reason, I've never felt this way about, like, when I was watching this movie, everything about it, the combination of it all.
Yeah, there's no other film like this.
No, the frothy confection and it was just so, and then the way, like, it doesn't shy away. Like, you see her, and you actually see the baby come out of Mrs. Poulin's punani. Yes. I mean, exploding.
Yeah.
And the sheer audacity. I mean, in terms of a directorial tour de force, this film is in my mind, one of the best directed, most imaginative, cleverest films. I mean, to me, this is everything the magic of cinema is supposed to be.
It is truly magical, beautiful, imaginative, whimsical, heartwarming, just a beautiful film with a beautiful story.
And yet, it's unflinching in its look at humanity.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't shy away from, I mean, what happened to Amélie's mom?
Well, yeah. So they go to light a candle in the church to ask for a little brother. And as they're leaving, a Canadian woman jumps off the top of Notre Dame and kills Amélie's mother. And Amélie's holding her hand. And after that, she is raised by her father, who is a doctor. And he had diagnosed her with a heart condition because every time that he was near her, because he was kind of closed off, so she yearned for his affection, but every time he was near her, her heart would flutter. And so he thought she had a heart condition. So they homeschooled her. And so end up that when the mother dies, she's left with her father. And she grows up and then moves out.
Well, I mean, before that, the way this is done, you see her life.
Yeah.
And how she thinks, and there's like a great moment where she goes to war with a neighbor.
Yes. I mean, this is a super creative child. Like I'm saying, I totally related to this. This was like me as a kid. You know, the teachers, my parents would go to the teacher conferences and they would be like, don't know what to do with Elizabeth. She's just a daydreamer. She's just daydreaming all the time. But my mother always let me. She would find me daydreaming. Like I would find where the sun was coming into the living room and I would just sit there in the puddle of sun, and she would let me do that, and I'd be late for school or whatever. She would just let me be in my world. And
Amélie, when she looks into the sky, you know, the clouds are always like giant stuffed animals.
Yes.
And like, I don't, the neighbor, like he's watching soccer and she figures out how to go on the roof and pull the...
Yeah, so the fish, the suicidal fish, jumps out of the bowl and causes so much anxiety for the mother, Amélie's mother, that they decide to release the fish. So they release the goldfish into the stream by their house. And so in exchange for that, she gets Amélie a camera, a Polaroid camera. And so Amélie's outside and she's taking pictures, and the neighbor, he's so mean, an accident happens right in front of them on their street, and the neighbor says, this is all your fault because you're taking pictures. Every time you take a picture, there's some catastrophe happens and it's all your fault. So she is mortified and she's watching TV and all the news, the bad news, like plane crashes, train crashes, and all this stuff. And she thinks it's because she was taking pictures. But then she realizes what he did to her, that he was lying.
He was lying.
And so to get back at him, she goes up onto the roof during a soccer game and she's listening on the radio, so she knows what's happening. And every time his team wants to make a goal, she pulls out the wire so that he can't see that part of the game, and then she plugs it back in, and he's just furious, but he has no idea that it's her.
I mean, that's a brilliant ploy.
Brilliant.
And so she's smart and creative and completely offbeat.
She's wonderful.
And yeah, no, it's
yes.
You immediately fall in love with it, but it's very sophisticated. Even though it's whimsical, it's very, very sophisticated, and it doesn't shy away like Amelie's mother's death. And then Amélie basically grows up, moves to Paris.
Yes. And she ends up working in a cafe, the Café des Trois Moulins.
The 2 windmills.
3 windmills.
3, that's what I said. 3 windmills.
Oh, no, it's 2. Deux moulins. You're right.
Okay, good.
C'est deux
I was
moulins.
right. The hurts. See, I'm glad that somebody didn't correct you. You know. No, they didn't say organs and never let me go. I'm glad. I know my Amélie.
No verisimilitude. What?
No. Okay. No. I would say this movie has peak verisimilitude because it's exactly what this movie is supposed to be doing. It is creating an entire realm of magical realism, and that's the whole point of it. It has a storybook logic and a storybook reality that is unique to this particular movie.
It's its own universe, and it never deviates from that.
And you have to understand that, yes, the idea of verisimilitude is to create reality, but the reality that this movie creates is singular unto itself.
He says he's joking.
Oh. They just wanted to make people drink. So the verisimilitude in this movie, is unique to itself.
Yes, indeed. Hi.
I'm going to drink to that. Let's drink to the magical real verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude.
The magical reality verisimilitude to this. This isn't about reality. This is about the magical reality. The magical real reality of this movie. But there's no other movie like it.
No.
And normally, I mean, I would call, there's a word that I've always loved, twee.
Twee?
Like people call Wes Anderson movies twee. Sometimes they're twee.
I love Wes
now,
Anderson movies.
I love Wes Anderson.
What does twee mean?
Well, I guess it's kind of, you know, it's precious and like if you're wearing
derogatory?
No.
Okay.
It's like if you're wearing a sort of a bespoke suit with a bow tie and
That's
you're
hipster.
kind of a dandy. But
you mean hipster?
No, it's not hipster. It's twee. Twee is different.
Well, you said bow tie and.
but this movie is not twee.
No.
This movie is
I
very
don't know what
cool
twee means,
in its
I think Wes Anderson films are equally whimsical and fantastic.
But Wes Anderson tries too hard.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, he does.
Don't say that.
Look, I love Wes Anderson movies.
You are so wrong about that. No, they are artistic pieces.
I understand, but they're so constructed.
Yes.
I mean, when you're watching it, it's so like this movie feels effortless. There's a buoyancy.
True,
and
I agree,
and there's multiple techniques going on. Wes Anderson has his thing that he keeps repeating over and over again, which I like.
Which is fantastic.
Okay, I like his deal, but it's like it's so
No, don't.
No, I'm not dissing him, but I'm just saying that I like Wes Anderson films, but it's so like constructed. Like he set out to do this thing, whereas this film has a lot more going on. I mean, this film has 1 foot in the real world, 1 foot in the.
I don't want to compare this with Wes Anderson films.
So wait, we're totally. So what happens now?
Okay, where are we? Also another thing about this film is the colors are specifically chosen to give you a feeling of like this dream world, this world that is, you know, its own universe.
Well, it's the way Amélie sees the universe.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot of greens and reds and some yellows, it's got a very specific feel to it.
And in Amelie's world, there's a lot of people like, there's the Man of Glass. If you've seen Unbreakable, the Sam Jackson character, Glass, he's that guy, like an old man whose bones are brittle so he can never leave the house, and he's an artist. And he's been trying to recreate a painting.
He paints it every year.
Is it Cezanne?
It's a Renoir.
Renoir. Right. I knew that. But he's trying to recreate this Renoir, and what's so great about it is he's trying to create the feeling, the look in a face.
Yes, he's always stuck on this one girl who's drinking a glass of water. It's like a scene of a lot of people
In a park.
at a cafe or outdoor cafe or something. And the one girl is in the middle of the painting and she's drinking a glass of water by herself. And he equates her to Amélie. So when he explains about the painting and how he's feeling about the girl with the glass of water, he's actually talking about Amélie and encouraging her to, because she's very shy and she lives in her own world, that she also needs to find her happiness.
Right, and her lot in life, like what she's got.
Yeah.
But what I love is like when there's even a great scene. There's a montage of sex.
Oh yeah,
In
this is her way of thinking. Like she thinks of these weird things. She's like, what's happening at this very moment? Oh, I wonder how many people are orgasming,
Orgasming. But she does it. But it shows her too.
Oh yeah.
And she thinks the whole thing is kind of funny. Like
she's like, it says like the narrator says, she's tried to have boyfriends and it didn't really work out, and there's a scene of like her having sex and she's like,
she laughs. I mean,
yeah.
But
it wasn't for her.
But what's great about this movie is it's a fairy tale, but then it cuts to a montage of people fucking. And it's like hardcore. Like it's not and that's what I love about this film. It's like, to me, it's
French.
This is going to seem weird.
Uh-oh.
One of the reasons I love Prince so much is Prince is able to combine down and dirty, like hardcore, funky sexuality, but at the same time talk about spirituality. But bow
chicka bow wow.
No,
it's more like her fantastical imaginings.
I know, but it's being able to jump in between those things to come out of that, come in and out of that. And this movie does that. I mean, I know this seems strange, but I always wanted to meet Prince. I never met him. I mean, I went to 30 Prince shows, but I always wanted to ask him if he had seen Amélie, because I was convinced that this had to have been one of Prince's favorite movies.
Oh, I like that.
I was convinced of that because a lot of people never understood that he was a man that was able to move between these universes, and I always thought that Prince would have loved this film.
Interesting.
I know, it's kind of weird.
I don't see the.
I know, but if you listen to his oeuvre, like the Ballad of Dorothy Parker. Dorothy was a waitress on the promenade. She worked the night shift, dishwater blonde, tall and fine. She got a lot of tips. I mean, I was like, he wrote that before this movie came out, but I'm like, okay. But I always thought that, anyway, this is total diversion.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, well, where are we?
So Amélie is looking for her lot in life, and then something happens.
Yes.
She discovers something in her apartment.
Yes, so she's in her bathroom getting ready for bed, and the TV's on in the other room, and she hears on the news that Princess Diana has died. And she drops the cap to her bottle that she's holding, and it rolls across the floor, and it dislodges.
By the way, she identifies with Princess Diana because she's a fairy princess. I mean, it's part of Amélie's life. So it's a big deal to her when Princess Diana dies.
Yeah. Well, it was a big deal to everyone when she died. So the cap of her bottle rolls and dislodges a tile from the baseboard, and it flops over, and she takes a look, and she gets down and she sticks her hand in there and she finds a treasure.
She finds a metal tin box with the Titanic on it.
Yes, and it's full of dust, and she dusts it off, and she opens it up, and it's a child's treasures. So there's like a postcard of a football player and there's like little bicycle,
race car,
marbles, all kinds of things that a child would put in a box as his treasures. And so at that moment, she decides that she's going to find the boy who's now a man. She was going to find him and give him his treasures.
And she decides if he responds to it,
yes,
then her lot in life is going to be to do good.
To do good.
To do good deeds.
Anonymous good deeds.
Anonymous good deeds.
So she goes on the search for the boy who lived in that apartment 40 years earlier. So she asks the landlady, who also has an interesting story. I love her.
The landlady's story is the best.
She's great. And so she, of course, she's lonely, so she lures Amélie into her apartment and tells her sad story of her husband who cheated on her and moved to South America, but she was always in love with him, and he ended up dying in a car crash, and she's just so sad.
She's just so sad.
And so Amélie tucks this away in her mind and goes on pursuit of finding the owner of the treasure box.
And it's a search. She goes to a lot of different places.
She does. She kind of gets the wrong name, and so she searches and meets a bunch of people, and it's not right. And then finally she learns there's one letter off in the last name. It's Brodoteau, not Brodoteau. So she finally finds him. She finds him, but she doesn't approach him. She learns his routine, and she places the box in a phone booth of where she knows that he's going to pass by.
And she's left this tin there of the treasures.
Yes.
She calls the phone booth. She's watching him.
She calls the phone booth.
And he's kind of like this schlubby, middle-aged dude.
Yeah.
But he comes into the phone booth.
Yeah, he hears the phone booth, and he goes in, and he answers the phone. But then he sees the box.
I gotta tell you, just describing this, I get that whoosh.
Yes.
This is when I cried the first time.
Yes, absolutely.
In this movie.
It's a very emotional moment.
When he finds, because I'm surrounded by childhood treasures all the time. When I so identified with this, when he opens up, the look on the way, the acting. This guy's acting.
It's fantastic.
And I literally, and it was totally involuntary. It was one of those things where I literally just started completely weeping, just because I completely identified with this. And it was only, I have to say, I've seen thousands of movies in my life, and I was sitting there next to Steve Melching, and I'm like, I had no idea how this would hit me, and I'm literally just sobbing, like big, gigantic, like someone turned on a faucet, and I'm sitting there, and I don't know why it was. It hit me. I didn't even realize how much
you identified with.
But I didn't realize how much. And watching this whole story and what she was trying to do, and then this situation, even what she was trying to do, it was so... I've never felt like this in a movie ever.
Yeah, plus finding those treasures, it really changes his life, because he then reconnects with
he goes into a cafe.
Which she's in the cafe at this
and then
point.
she comes in and sits, because she has to hear. And he starts talking to the guy, and
he's just in shock. He's blown away. He can't believe this. And
Amélie has to know if this means something to him.
How meaningful it is.
How meaningful is it to him? Because if it's meaningful, and then she's going to do this.
That's what she's going to do.
She's going to become a do-gooder.
Yeah. So he explains to the bartender that he's been estranged from his grandson and his son, and that finding his treasures makes him want to reconnect. And so she's so touched by that she begins this journey of doing good deeds. And one of the scenes I truly love is when she guides the blind man through the street and explains to him everything that is happening. And then she does it very quickly and explains every little detail, just even little things like, and the baby's smiling at the dog, and the dog is salivating for the chicken, and she's telling him the prices of the cheese and the meat, and then she comes to the metro stop, and she says, "I'm going to leave you here," and she leaves, and he just has this moment of euphoria. It's just like, oh.
Well, and also one of the things that we didn't mention, but there's like a montage of things throughout the film where the narrator tells you what each person likes. Like,
yes, what they like and what they dislike.
There's the simple things that they like and what they dislike, meaning that both Amelie's mother and Amelie's father, like Amelie's mother loved to take everything out of her purse, clean her purse, and then put everything back. And Amelie's father liked to clean his toolbox. And then vacuum out the toolbox and then put everything back. And that action, and it's all about the how there's magic and wonder in everyday life.
Yes.
And this is an ongoing thread through this film. And what Amélie does is basically she figures out a way to turn the most mundane everyday moments into magic.
Yes.
And to help other people feel that same magic, which is something that, again, I completely identify with. I mean, it's
absolutely
my raison d'etre.
She even acts as a matchmaker with one of the ladies that she works with this guy who's like always there, and he's like this grumpy guy. And
well, the two windmills. It's the three windmills.
Deux moulins, trois moulins.
The two windmills.
Deux moulins, trois moulins.
It's the two.
Here, I'll look.
I think it's the two windmills. I was right? But anyway, there's a whole cast of characters where she works, and there's like the one of the women that works there is also, or one of the people comes in. She's a stewardess, and I mean,
I think it's three.
I thought it was the three windmills.
Trois moulins. You said two.
I said two. I thought it was three windmills.
It's three.
Three windmills. Anyway, so I was wrong. But there's a huge cast of characters, and if we were to try and explain who they all are, it would be pretty difficult.
Yeah, there's many characters, and she touches each one of them.
Yeah, she touches each one of their lives, and yet, as the glass man knows,
yes,
she herself is not getting...
She has a moment where she realizes that she's bringing happiness to all these people, but she's neglecting her own happiness.
But then she sees something.
So, in the metro, in Paris, in the metro, there are photo booths, and they're still there to this day. There's photo booths in almost every station, and she notices a guy, and she immediately has like this moment when she sees him, and he is literally on his knees trying to get photos out from underneath the photo booth. And she sees him, and
he's an actor, but he's also a French Matthias Kassovitz.
Yeah.
He's actually a French film director and an actor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's who plays him. Nino Quampois.
And he is collecting these photos, so he's very eccentric like her. And so she ends up chasing him, like following him, and she wants to talk to him, and he's in a hurry because he is chasing a guy who came out of the photo booth, and it's like a mysterious guy, and he doesn't know what's up with this guy. He sees him all the time. So she's following them, and he drops one of his saddlebags from his little Vespa,
mobilette.
His little mobilette.
I know that because of Diva. Another one of my favorite French films that Kino's putting out on Blu-ray. I've wanted Diva for years on Blu-ray. Finally coming out.
Awesome.
Sorry, that was just an aside.
So he drops the saddlebag, and she picks it up, and there's a photo album in there, and it's full of these reject photos from the photo booth.
Of this guy.
And some of them are of this mysterious guy. And so she collects the photo album, and she tries to figure out how to get it back to him.
But she also kind of is falling in love with this guy because
Absolutely.
he's crazy and eccentric and weird like she is.
Just like her.
And she's got, he's just like her, but he's handsome and...
Very cute.
So, as Amélie is doing good for everybody else and everybody's lives are touched, she's even helping out. One of our favorite things is her father has this garden gnome.
Yes.
And she steals her father's garden gnome.
The garden gnome, he made a shrine to her mother.
His mother with the garden gnome.
And the mother hated the garden gnome, but he takes it out of the shed and places it at the top of the shrine. So Amélie, one night, in the middle of the night, she doesn't know how to help her dad. She already tried to get him to travel, and he's like, oh, well, it's too late. And so she takes the garden gnome, and one of her friends is a
woman comes into the cafe all the time.
Yes. And she babysits the cat because she's a hostess. She's a
stewardess.
A flight stewardess.
Flight attendant.
So she takes the gnome from her dad and she gives it to this friend, and the friend takes the gnome to different places that she travels to, and around the world, and the gnome sends postcards to the father of where he's been.
Right. And pictures.
It's great.
Pictures. It's again, it just adds. Everyone's probably thinking, like, if they haven't seen this movie, like, what is this movie?
Yeah.
Like, what? You have to see it. Amélie is like the Matrix. To understand what it is, you have to see. Amélie. No one can tell you what it is. You have to see it. And there's a lot of people it's not their cup of tea. It's a very quiet. It's a very specific.
It is.
Acquired.
You either love this movie or you just hate it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't understand why my affection for this film.
Yeah, my mom does not love this film.
Well, because you have to have.
But my aunt absolutely loves it.
But if you're a pragmatist, and you have to have a sense of awe and wonder about the world.
Yes.
And a lot of people, like, if you're religious, your awe and wonder comes from God. But this film is about the awe and wonder of everyday life.
Yeah.
And there's magic in the world.
There's magic in little things like sticking your hands in a bag of beans or cracking
that was, oh my God, cracking a creme brulee.
Cracking the top of the creme brulee with the tip of your spoon.
I mean, it seems silly, but I saw them like, finally somebody understands, like, the greatness of the cracking the creme brulee.
Just hearing that.
And the feeling of it.
Yeah.
And how thick is it?
Because
if it's too thick, it's not good. It needs to be thin enough where it cracks and it kind of goes like...
But not too thin, because if it's too thin, then there's not that
Yeah,
sound.
See? It's like when you pop a really great whitehead and you can feel the snap.
Gross. Oh, come on.
Same kind of thing.
Cracking the sugar.
It's been too long. That's one of the sucky things about getting older. You can't get those big nose zits and get in there.
Oh my God! I
hit the window, hit the mirror.
Went there.
That's why those popping videos, Dr. Popper.
Oh God, that's disgusting. I hate those videos.
Bot fly videos. Come on, man.
We're talking about Amélie.
Sorry,
please.
but I'm just saying the magical wonderment of day-to-day life.
That's not magical wonderment. That's disgusting.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
No, not at all.
Why do you think those YouTube channels are so popular?
Because weird people like you love that stuff.
I think people who like those videos would love Amélie. It's the same thing.
No, it's not. They love horror films.
You never know what you're going to hear on this show. Let me tell you. So what ends up happening? I mean, basically, we shouldn't give away the ending. I mean,
oh, the ending! I cry.
I mean, there's this big long.
Anyway, she sends Nino on several.
Well, she finds out.
Hunts.
She finds out who this crazy man that Nino is obsessed with, who he actually is.
Yes. And let me tell you a story. Okay, so she finds out the guy that
this
Nino
mysterious man that he thinks
obsessed with is the repairman for the photo booth.
He just services the booths. He just, puts in film,
but
whatever.
Guess what? So after our first date, the very next day, or 2 days later, on July 4th, tomorrow. 5 years ago. We got on a plane.
Yeah, you left.
Me and my 2 kids.
We had a date and you were gone.
Went to France. But the first thing I saw when we went into the metro in Paris was a guy repairing a photo booth. And I sent you the picture.
Yes, you did.
My mind was blowing. It was amazing.
That's
anyway,
true.
So she finds out the mysterious guy is the repairman.
The repairman.
Yeah.
And he thinks it's, some magical...
Yeah. They have, these ideas about who is this mystery guy.
Yeah.
And she says that he's a ghost. That's what she thought initially. Anyway.
Long story short.
She sends him on several scavenger hunts because she's too shy to actually meet him. And then she, does crazy stuff. At one point, she leaves a note in his pocket.
She puts him on a scavenger hunt.
And then he ends up coming to the cafe, and she still can't talk to him.
Right.
And he's like, "Are you Amélie?" And she's like... And then when he leaves, she just melts into this puddle of water.
Literally, they do it so she melts.
She just becomes this puddle of water.
It's great.
Finally, he finds her, and he comes to her apartment. And she has these imaginings that he would. And he finally does. He comes to her apartment. And they kiss.
They kiss. And it's the conclusion of this movie is... The whole movie's magical.
It's so magical.
But and again, all the different characters and all the different... I'm sure if people have never heard of this movie or never seen this movie, they would not understand what the hell we're talking about after we... you can't... It's difficult. The plot of this movie does not do this movie justice. If you just explained...
You have to watch this movie.
I'm telling you, it's like The Matrix.
It's absolutely magical. And you'll either hate it or you'll absolutely love it. I've never met somebody who just likes it.
No.
Nope.
So, Elizabeth, what'd you think of this movie?
This is my #1 favorite movie of all time. I can watch it incessantly over and over again and never, ever, ever tire of it.
Me neither. It's in my top 10.
It's my #1.
From a filmmaking standpoint, the direction of this film, the visionary, it is so... This movie has such soul, and it's so... Look, the people that don't like this movie, it's completely a sensibility thing for me. That I've seen, they just don't buy off on this. It doesn't...
They're just logical people. It's not logical.
Yeah, you have to buy into the dreamy, the whimsical. There's a lot of people that aren't whimsical. And I get that. And I don't necessarily think they're wrong. But I think that if you really love life, and you have a certain sense, or you're certainly tuned into the childlike sense of wonder. And
yes.
There is a sensibility at work here that's very singular. And if you buy into it, and if you're that kind of a person.
Yeah, if you let into your imagination and enjoy that part of yourself, you will absolutely love this film, because that's what she does. She just lives in her own imaginary world and manifests that in her reality. Yeah.
No, it's absolutely true.
Yeah. I love this film so much.
I love this film too.
I want an Amélie hot toy.
Well, no one makes one.
Or any figure.
So yeah, somebody should make this. Well,
Not
listen.
A statue, though.
We have a couple of letters to read. Now, everyone knows that we did, well, you don't know, maybe you don't know, on Wednesday night, we did Back to the Future. Today, is the actual 35th anniversary of the release of Back to the Future. And we have a letter here from a longtime letter writer to Robservations, who has written me a lot of stuff, but this is his first letter to WINEning About Movies. And it comes from Ian Samuels. And Ian Samuels, in honor of the 35th anniversary, the real 35th anniversary, Back to the Future, Ian Samuels writes, Elizabeth and Rob, Back to the Future, another favorite of mine, so I thought I would offer a few interesting facts. Many of them you may already know as they have become quite well known. Originally, the time machine was envisaged to be a chamber the traveler could enter, so the first concept was a fridge. The idea that for Marty to travel back to 1985, he and 1955 Doc would take the fridge on the back of a pickup to where they were due to test the atom bomb, so that the atomic explosion would power the flux capacitor. It was decided that it would be best if the time machine was mobile, so it was changed to a car. Also, the idea of a fridge surviving an atomic explosion was dubious at best. Didn't stop Spielberg from taking the idea and using it in the awful fourth indie film, Crystal Skull. The 1955 mayor, Red Wilson, in 1985 is the bum sleeping on the park bench, played by actor George Buck Flower. Obviously, things didn't work out too well for him. Interestingly, the cinema at the end of the street, which was a cinema showing a Ronald Reagan movie in 1955, is a porn theater in 1985 showing a film called An American Orgy. An American Orgy is a real film, and the star of that adult movie? A certain George Buck Flower. George Buck Flower was in a lot of movies. He was also in, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Escape from New York, and he says, I'm the president. When I woke up wearing this, I knew I was the president. There are a number of issues that some people raise about the film. These include the fact that how did Doc get the DeLorean inside the back of the truck, as there's no room for the gull wing doors to open. Crispin Glover, who played George McFly, Marty's dad, did not agree with the end of the movie. With all the warnings about time travel throughout the movie, particularly about how your actions in the past affect the future. But then the changes that Marty has made led to him receiving material gain in the form of the pickup, rather than learning a lesson. Glover would be the only cast member to return for the sequel after he demanded more money, to not return for the sequel, after he demanded more money, which would have put him in a higher pay grade than even Michael J. Fox. Possibly one of the most well-known changes is Peabody's Pine Trees. The mall is called the Twin Pines Mall, and when Marty goes back to 55 and drives away from the Peabody farm, he takes out one of the pines, so when he returns to 85, the mall has become the Lone Pine Mall. The Peabody family are Otis and Elise, and their children Martha and Sherman. Interestingly, Sherman Peabody was named after a time travel plot episode of the Rocky and Bullwinkle show with a talking, hyper-intelligent scientist dog called Mr. Peabody and his human child friend Sherman. Even though Michael J. Fox was the first choice of Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis, he wasn't available due to working on the TV series Family Ties. The studio insisted they use Eric Stoltz. They filmed the majority of the film with Eric before it was decided he was playing the part of Marty too straight, was missing the comedy beats that they wanted. The studio allowed them to let Eric Stoltz go and managed to get Fox after 5 weeks of shooting. Some scenes still remain with Stoltz. The studio didn't like the title and suggested to changing it to Spaceman from Pluto. Actually, that was Sid Sheinberg himself, the head of Universal, who did that. When Marty arrives in 1955, Sherman Peabody is reading a comic book which has a story in it called Space Zombies from Pluto. Claudia Wells, who plays Marty's girlfriend Jennifer, after completing the movie, left acting to look after her mother, who had been diagnosed with cancer. This is why she was not available to be in part 2 and 3. Not that Bob and Bob ever planned on making a sequel. The flying car at the end was supposed to be a nice joke to end on. When Marty is playing Johnny B. Goode, he imitates 5 guitarists. Obviously Chuck Berry, but also AC/DC's Angus Young, The Who's Pete Townsend, and Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen. Eddie Van Halen provided the music that was on the cassette Marty plays to wake up George when dressed as Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan. It specifically says Edward Van Halen on the cassette. This is due to Warner Brothers, Van Halen's record label, denying permission, so Eddie Van Halen produced a piece of music himself specifically for the movie. The DeLorean is required to reach 88 miles an hour. According to models sold in America due to restrictions of some state laws, the speed only goes up to a max of 75, but the original model had a max speed of excess of 110 miles an hour. The set used for Hill Valley is on the Universal lot and has been used in many other TV and movies, including Kingston Falls and Gremlins. One outtake has Marty and 1955 Doc discussing the changes that could be made to the future. Marty suggests, in a worried tone, "You mean I could end up being gay?" 1955 Doc replies, "What would be wrong with that?" Rather than being cut for being offensive, it was cut because it was thought that Doc's reaction would be considered too radical for 1955. Finally, just before Marty returns to 1955, Lorraine muses over how Marty is a nice name, so her and George do get married and call their son Dave. Some facts for you both. Hope you both had fun watching one of the best films of the 1980s. Ian. Thank you, Ian Samuels. Then we have a quick one from Aaron Johnson. Greetings, Rob and Elizabeth. I thought I would share my thoughts on the Back to the Future trilogy. These films are quite fun. What makes me laugh is the hilarious moments where George McFly and Marty McFly both separately stop Biff Tannen. These movies are a positive reminder of great storytelling. Michael Fox gets along quite well with Christopher Lloyd, and he also gets along quite well with two different actresses who played Jennifer, Claudia Wells in Back to the Future, and Elizabeth Shue in the subsequent sequels. I hope that you two get to Back to the Future 2 and 3. It would continue the trilogy. Sincerely, Aaron Johnson.
Very
Well,
cool.
thank you very much, gentlemen, for writing. If you want to write a letter to us, you can at the Burnettwork.net website. Please specify that is for Elizabeth's whining about movies.
Yep.
Now we have a lot of people are firing in.
Yay.
Firing in. Let me get back here. There's a lot of people firing in stuff. Phil. I love the name Phil because in Beverly Hills Cop, I said Phil. Never mind.
I love the name Philip. It was on my top list for boy names.
You never had a boy though.
No, it was Sebastian.
But now you have one.
I have one.
You have an aging man-child.
Yes.
Phil says, Rob and Liz, Phil from beautiful Montreal here. My first comment. It took Amélie to get me here. And yes, Amélie is a masterpiece in so many ways.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm gonna... The guys from Montreal are about to massacre the French. Selon moi, un chef d'oeuvre du cinéma. Salud et restez en bonne santé.
I love when you...
I'm sorry, Phil. Everyone likes me to read my terrible French. I tried. He's from Montreal, man. Phil, thank you, sir. Welcome. It's a good time. Thank you for supporting the channel.
I love hearing you speak French, babe.
I don't think the French do. Julius, a good one is here again. In the spirit of l'amour, I must ask Miss Elizabeth, what caught your attention when you met Mr. Burnett? Was it the majestic line of his jaw, the eyes sparkling with humor, and infinite wisdom, his ability to do a flawless Vulcan live long and prosper sign? Yes, both hands.
Well, I have to say, when he first messaged me, we had really great conversations about movies and shows and things like that, and I found that he was really intelligent. And it was his intelligence that really got me. And then his amazing eyes. He has amazing green eyes with super long eyelashes.
Yeah, everyone thought I used to wear false eyelashes. Something I keep forgetting about.
Yeah.
Julius goes on and says, in the same spirit, sir, I asked what you first noticed about Miss Elizabeth, her ability to know even more esoteric movie facts than you, her ability to choose the finest vintages of wine, or perhaps her ability to make cinema magic with your action figures. No, definitely not that. Not that.
Oh, come on, man.
No. You know what it was? I'll tell you. It was her sense that she understood whimsy. You know, she has, I mean, look at her face. Look at this face.
Aww.
She has a whimsical face. She has this lovely face with these big eyes, and, you know, it's kind of a timeless face. You know, it's not, you can't pick which era it's from, and she had this haircut. She's had that haircut. But that haircut's kind of a 60s thing. You know, it goes back to, like, Twiggy. It's kind of timeless, and yet it could be 80s, too. Like Patrick Nagel. So she was a woman out of time that had an understanding of, well, an understanding of what it means to be an aging man-child. So that's kind of where, and I didn't know if that was true. But, you know, it could have been wrong. It could have been a big crash and burn, Mav, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't.
No.
We're still here.
We are.
After all that time. Chris and Mandy sent in a tip and says, can't be here to watch live, have company. Excited for all the thoughts. Thanks for being who you both are. Keep doing that.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you. We'll keep doing that.
Thank you.
Eric Red Shoes, that's his way of saying watch the Red Shoes. Eric Red Shoes Gant sent in a tip and said, I just watched this. Beautiful movie. If there was a patron saint of imagination connoisseurs, it would be Amélie.
Yes!
Yes, Eric Gant.
He got it!
Yes, you totally understand.
God.
That is exactly right. My God, I knew I liked you.
You make me so happy that you actually watched this film.
You and I park our shuttlecrafts in the same shuttle bay, sir. Thank you so much. Yes. The movie drives home the fact that despite its bumps, life is beautiful. And doing good is the simplest, yet most potent of all superpowers.
Yes.
My God, sir. Yes. That's what Robservations is all about. That's what this channel is all about. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. You totally get that. Candida Jones is back, sends in a tip. It says, my girlfriend Brianne and I, of 10 years, please don't judge, had our first date to Wes Anderson's fantastic Mr. Fox.
Oh,
it's a special thing when you two can find your soulmate over a film.
Yes.
Congrats to you, and Amélie is wonderful. Love to you both.
Yes, yes.
Well, cheers to you guys,
the
to Eric and
Mr. Fox.
Kendi. It's actually Kendiana. I always say Candida because I'm thinking Candia. Kendiana Jones.
Yes, and one Halloween I made the Fantastic Mr. Fox and the wife costumes.
Wow.
At the time I was married, and so we had these Fantastic Mr. Fox Halloween costumes.
Did your husband appreciate it?
I guess so.
No.
I mean, it looked good.
Kendiana Jones says, sorry, I'm a bit drunk. Hope my previous message wasn't a mess. Anyway, I hereby decree Rob and Elizabeth rock. Star Trek Picard sucks ass. So does Disney Star Wars. And of course, Rush is the greatest rock band to ever walk the earth.
Rush.
I love Rush too. Rush, I think Amélie would like Rush.
I think so.
I think Amélie would have been a big 2112 fan. Permanent Waves. You know. Timbula's here. Timbula Spider Monkey sends in a tip and says, a friend dragged me to see this at the cinema in 2001. After Alien Resurrection, I had some misgivings. I love Delicatessen and City of Lost Children, so I begrudgingly agreed to go. Wow, I was blown away. Without doubt, my favorite of his films.
Oh, yes.
So good.
So good.
So good. Doc Savage sends in a super chat and says, I saw Amélie movie right before seeing I Heart Huckabees. I swear that was one of the best movie weekends ever. Anyway, happy anniversary, guys. Well, here's to you, Doc Savage.
Thank you.
Here's to the man of bronze, Doc Savage. Movie Fanobi sends in a super chat and says, I love the two of you and your Enchantress Merlin energy. Oh, that means you're Helen Mirren, and I'm Nicole Williamson.
Ooh.
Are you the mother and the father now, Merlin? Did you watch our Excalibur episode?
Oh my God.
I know this is one of your favorites. Have a great weekend, everyone. Steve. Well, thank you, Steve.
Yes, thank you.
Cheers to you. He's a long-time
Cheers.
imagination connoisseur.
Yep.
Richard Ganther sends in a super chat. Well, thank you so much, sir. Bonjour. Happy first date anniversary. Thank you for reviewing this film. Thank you for all you do, and then you both for being true to yourselves. These moments you share with us truly warm my heart.
Aww.
Merci beaucoup.
Aw, that's so wonderful.
Cheers to Richard. There you go.
Cheers.
Thank you, sir. Mm.
I'm running out of wine. Is there any more?
No. Well, there's another bottle. You could text Sophie and we could just keep talking.
I don't know.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
It's your idea. We do have another Louis Jadot bottle of wine.
It's true.
It is French.
It's true. It's French.
We can just keep going.
Okay, let's just see how it goes.
Oh, all right. Eric Gant is back. One of two. This movie reminds me of my all-time favorite monologue from the X-Men comics. Everything is so fragile. There's so much conflict, so much pain. You keep waiting for the dust to settle, and then you realize this is it. The dust is your life going on. If happy comes along, that weird, unbearable delight, that's actual happy, I think you have to grab it while you can. You take what you can get because it's here and then it's gone. Kitty Pride. Well, Eric Gant,
Yes.
here's to bringing up a monologue from the X-Men comics. Because I was just going through my X-Men comics to get slabbed, and boy, I have a lot of them.
That's awesome.
I know. I'm a big fan. X-Men comics, the X-Men are like Well, it's the Teen Titans and the X-Men, kind of like Star Trek for me. Jerome Morgan sends in a super chat and says, "Happy anniversary to my favorite YouTube couple." Well, here's to that. Thank you, sir. As I sip on my glass of Remy Martin, all right.
Ooh.
I'm wishing you both the very best. Cheers. Well, cheers
Thank
to you,
you.
Jerome.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. Doc Savage says, "Please give The Life Aquatic another watch if you haven't already." I love The
that
Life
one.
Aquatic. I
Absolutely.
love it. Love it. I just had to say that. Laugh out loud. Stay savage. And again, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
We will always stay. Blah, blah, blah. I love Doc Savage. Kaz Graphics sent us a very generous super chat. Thank you so much, Kaz.
Much.
By the way, the cheese, I mean, Kaz,
Absolutely.
amazing. We had that
Amazing
great
cheese.
meal once. We did the.
Yeah.
Oh, we made the video of it.
Yes.
So good.
So good.
Thank you so much, Kaz.
Thank
Long-time
you.
imagination
Thank you.
connoisseur and one of our core members. I think been with us since the beginning.
I think so.
And he's up in Seattle.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Kaz. Richard Ganther sends in a super chat and says, "Whimsical yet sophisticated. What a poignant summation. Not only of this film, but perhaps of all we should strive for in life as geeks and as humans." Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Cheers to that. I totally agree with you. Eric Gant comes back and says that scene where Amélie gives the blind guy an impromptu tour of the neighborhood, providing him with a fleeting yet profound connection to the world
Yes.
and the people around him. That scene ambushed me. That's exactly what this movie
Yes.
did. It totally ambushed me.
I love that scene.
It was an emotional surprise attack out of nowhere.
Yes. Absolutely. I
Totally
agree.
was. Cheers to that.
I love that scene.
Yeah. Kinky Sphincter.
Oh, wow.
I have a kinky sphincter. Sent a $4.99 super chat in and says, "Have y'all thought about Castaway for Romance Friday? It's a love story, but a sad one."
Oh.
I would do Castaway, but maybe not for Romance Friday because it isn't. I mean, Castaway is. Well,
Is that
wait
the
a
one
minute.
with Tom Hanks?
Yeah, there's the Nicholas Roeg and there's the Tom Hanks version. It depends. Are you talking about?
I don't know if that's a romance.
Well, I think maybe if he's talking about Castaway, you're talking about the Nick. Is it Nick Roeg? Oliver Reed Castaway, right?
Well, it can't be the Tom Hanks one because.
Well, he's in love with Wilson.
Yeah, but that's a volleyball.
I know. That's true. It is. Yes, it is kind of a sad one. But Castaway is all about
So
how he wants to
sad.
get back to Helen Mirren. I mean, Helen.
Oh, that's true.
Helen. You know, what's her name? Mad About You.
Yeah, Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt. Boy, that ending's a gut punch.
Ugh.
Wow.
I only saw that movie once.
I have it. The World's Greatest Detective sends in a super chat and says, "Knowing you and Elizabeth connected over this at the start of your relationship has charmed me as a Robservationer. So I'll definitely check this out now. You have to check it out.
Please see this film.
Got to check it out.
Please see it.
Is it on Netflix?
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not.
Oh, it's on. It comes and goes.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
The first time I got this movie on Blu-ray, I bought the Japanese version, and it was only in French with Japanese subtitles. But I didn't feel bad. I was reorganizing my physical media collection right over there. Wait till you see it. Wait till you can see with a Robservatory what's happening. It's going to be filled with just wonders. Throg and Lady Throg are here. Happy anniversary. Well, here's to
Thank
Throg
you.
and Lady Throg. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alexander Wilson's here. Elizabeth, while watching Back to the Future, you said Marty created rock and roll. Now, who is the man credited for actually creating rock and roll? He had an Academy-nominated movie made about him, which didn't paint him well. Who is this man? Well, it was Chuck Berry in the movie.
I don't know. Was it Elvis?
Well, Elvis ripped off rock and roll. And that's a good one, Alexander. I don't know. I don't know. I mean...
I thought it was Elvis.
Hello, Chuck. This is your cousin Marvin. That new sound you were looking for? Well, this is it.
I had a huge crush on Elvis when I was a kid.
I don't know.
He died when I was 6.
He died when you were 6?
I remember when he died. I was so sad.
I was a big Chuck Berry fan. I don't know, Alexander. I don't know. I don't know who the man is for actually credited. I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that
I
question.
don't know.
Philip Alvarez, you have to tell us, Alexander. Come on.
Yeah.
I just wanted to wish you all. Philip Alvarez says, I wanted to wish you all a happy anniversary. Love the show. Well, thank you, Philip.
Well, thank you.
Claude. Just
Nice.
une note. When Amélie was released in 2001, Candide and I just happened to be in France.
Oh.
We stayed near the Théâtre Odeon. We saw Enemy at the Gates and Amélie there. Amazing
Oh
film.
my God, you actually saw it in France. I'm jealous.
Dude, I bought an Enemy at the Gates 2-pack of action figures made by Dragon that does a lot of World War II figures. And it was actually, I mean, the two characters, Jude Law. There was a Jude Law action figure in that Enemy of the Gates box.
You have a Jude Law figure?
Not anymore. I sold it.
What do you mean? You sold
I sold
Jude
it.
Law?
I sold my Enemy at the Gates 2-pack.
That's just wrong.
But I didn't collect war figures. Claude Quincamp
Concampoint.
says, Vous estes vous? Une question. As you know, there are many critics of voiceover narration. Why do you think the narration works in in this movie and not others? Look,
I love narration.
the reason that people frown on voiceover narration is because a lot of people would use it, and it became a crutch. It became a trope that people used. But when voiceover narration is really, really, really well done, like in this movie, it
works when the narrator is an actual character, becomes a character. I feel like in this film, the narrator, has his own quirkiness, and
Look,
I feel like, I don't know.
I mean, look, we watched War of the Worlds last, and there are two different narrators.
Yeah.
There's Paul Frees and there's Cedric Van Hardwick. I mean, the movie had two narrators.
Yeah.
It depends how it's used. I mean, the problem is voiceover narration, to do it really well, is really, really hard.
I could see that.
And I mean, you think about like Henry Hill and Goodfellas, or Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption. I mean, when voiceover is used well, it's magical, but it's really, really, really hard to do that.
I love it.
Julius Goodwin sends in a tip and says, "You speak French better than I speak English." If I'd have tried to read any of the phrases you did, I'd have just said blah, 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 Rico Suave, and called it a night. But Rico Suave isn't French, is it? Suave. No, it's Spanish, right?
Uh-huh.
Suave. Beaches, I eat 'em raw like sushi. That's what Rico Suave said. I love that line. Nay sent in a super chat and says, maybe Holy Motors soon. I know you're booked. I love Holy Motors. I have that on Blu-ray. That's a great, that would be a great movie to do.
I have not seen that.
You haven't seen it. It's good. The Richard sends a super chat and says, drink.
We're almost out.
Okay. Med6814 says, release the toys for your anniversary. Listen, what I'm doing now in the Robservatory, there are going to be toys released. There's going to be toys released
Toys
even
will
tonight.
be freed. They
Even
will
tonight.
be freed.
Even tonight, or moved. Alexander Wilson says the answer is Ike is Ike Turner, who created rock and roll and actually helped jumpstart Elvis's career. They're both from Memphis. The movie is What's Love Got to Do with It? Oh, I know that movie. It should be on your list of movies to watch on Wine's Reservation. I love What's Got to Do with It. And by the way, that is, I believe, a Touchstone movie. Where the hell is that Blu-ray? Man, do I love that movie, and it's not available, as far as I know, on HD. Why? Because it's one of those Disney movies that fell through the cracks, and I love What's Got to Do with It. Oh my God, such a good movie.
Is it on the Disney Channel?
No, it's not on the Disney Channel. No. It might be on Hulu. They might put it on Hulu, but I don't know why. Yeah. Well, listen, Elizabeth, we're way over time.
Oh, we are. Well, of course we are.
Well, now we come down to the part of the show where we vote. Hang on, let's get down to, let's change the camera angle. I bumped the camera, so you're not even on camera there.
Yeah,
so.
that's why I had to lean. I had to lean way over.
I'm sorry, I apologize. A lot of renovations happening in the Robservatory. So we come down to our bottoms up scale of movies. Bottoms up scale. What is that scale?
So our scale is from 1 to 4 because there are 4 glasses of wine in a bottle.
4 glasses of wine in a bottle.
Yeah.
And so, all right, if there's 4 glasses of wine in a bottle and we rate movies on a scale of 1 to 4 glasses of wine, what do you give Amélie?
Well, I would love to give it more than 4 glasses of wine.
Well, we could get another bottle and you can give it 8.
I give this 8 glasses of wine.
8 glasses of wine. So you give it 4.
Yes, I give it 4.
I, too, give Amélie 4 glasses of wine.
Yes. 4 plus.
4 plus.
4 plus.
4 plus glasses of wine. Well, cheers to that.
Cheers.
So, oh wait, we got Doc Savage sends in a super chat and says, Night of the Living Dead anniversary tonight. Well, the original Night of the Living Dead came out in October of 1968. So, I don't know if you mean the 1990 version. I know the Richard was talking about this. But I don't know if it was October 20th, 1968. I'm not sure. But the original Night of the Living Dead. By the way, I have George Romero's autograph right over there.
So maybe it's the remake.
Could be the remake, the 1990 remake. But
he's doing a whole marathon.
Good, I'd celebrate that. I'll jump into that. But I got so much work I still have to do. Med6814 sends in a super chat and says, tonight on the Post-Geek Singularity watch party, the Richard is running a Night of the Living Dead marathon. As well he should. As well he should, because everyone knows October, the greatest physical media release of all time. Second Sight's Dawn of the Dead is coming out. Ooh, I can't wait. If we're still doing the show by then, we're going to do Dawn of the Dead.
Awesome.
We are going to do Dawn of the Dead. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just so you all know, we're having a Zoom party tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Robservations will be from noon to 1:30. And then at 2 o'clock, we're doing a 3-hour Zoom party. These are always fun. You can jump in. I'll have the link tomorrow when I get it. And you come in and you just hang out. We talk. You know, you can come in. Are you going to be here? You're going to be working on your painting?
Yeah, I'll be working on my painting, but I might pop in.
You can pop in and out. And yeah, so we're doing that tomorrow at 2 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. So join us if you want.
Monday's movie
is A Clockwork Orange. Ladies and gentlemen, one of my favorite films of all time, which you haven't seen.
I've seen parts of it.
And you know what? I mean, I want to do it for Romance Friday, but...
Clockwork Orange?
No. But this other movie. I won't do it for Romance Friday, but I'll definitely do it for Wednesday.
Oh,
thanks to Dieter Bastian.
No.
I have the new restoration of David Cronenberg's Crash on 4K. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. David Cronenberg's Deborah Kara Unger and James Spader.
Oh my God.
We're doing Clockwork Orange and Crash next week. Boy, am I excited to look at this restoration. This is another Grail disc I've wanted, and it came out in 4K, but only in Germany. And thank you to my angel in Deutschland, Dieter Bastian. I have the 4K restoration of Crash. So we're going to do transcendent or transgressive, however you decide to qualify it. I don't know if any of you can watch David Cronenberg's Crash, and nor would I say it's the normal... I mean, the movie opens with 3 different sex scenes. I think pretty awesome. Oh my God. It's going to be fun. It's rated NC-17.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, it is. It's our first NC-17 film. Cheers to that. So, A Clockwork Orange and the 4K restoration of David Cronenberg's Crash.
Wow, next week's going to be intense.
By the way, if I didn't have Dieter Bastian, this is a really hard disc to acquire because it's only been released in Germany and Amazon won't mail it. They won't send it because of COVID-19 or whatever. Thank God I have...
I wonder what I'm going to pick for Friday's movie after that lineup.
That's up to you.
Oh my God.
Well, we bring an end to Elizabeth's Whining About Movies, episode number 48, Amélie, which is our anniversary episode. 5 years, babe.
If you have not seen this film, please, please, as an imagination connoisseur, you must see this film.
Gotta see this movie. So, and what do we say now?
Everyone you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen.
All you have to do is listen. And what else?
Have a better night.
Have a better night. And I will see you on Robservations tomorrow at noon. And then at 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock tomorrow, Pacific Daylight Time, it's time for a Zoom party.
Yep.
Thanks for all the support, everyone. I want to thank everybody for their letters, for their super chats, for tips. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you would like to write us letters, you can go to the Burnettwork.net website. You can also send me videos. If you want to send a greeting video or take videos of your local cinema. I mean, if you can even get into them now. But I don't know, your physical media collection, whatever you want to send, please do so. And you can do that at the Burnettwork.net. Also, what was I going to say? Oh, I want to thank our moderating staff. I want to thank, of course, Mike Bawden. I also want to thank The Richard, and Haynock is here as well, and Jordy Lyons and Greg Smith. Particular thanks always goes to The Richard for throwing crazy watch parties. He's showing stuff all the time on the Post-Geek Singularity Facebook page and the Whining About Movies Facebook page. He's always running crazy things, showing stuff. They're celebrating Night of the Living Dead, which is amazing. Everyone knows that Dawn of the Dead is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Night of the Living Dead too, but hey, all good. So thanks very much, everybody. And this concludes Elizabeth's... Oh, and by the way, thanks to Claude and Candida for this fine bottle of wine.
Yes, thank you.
This concludes Whining About Movies, episode 48, Amélie.
Good night.
Thanks very much.
Stay safe.